Hi there, my name is Caitlin Bandy and this is my channel BandysBooks, and today we are here to do a rant or review video. We're going to be talking about the book Womb City by Tlotlo Tsamasse, and this was recently released on the 23rd of January by Irwahan Books. This book is a dystopian, afro-futuristic science fiction with a sprinkling of horror mixed in. Womb City currently has a 3.49 and about 188 ratings on Goodreads so far. Botswana sometime in the future. Nila seems to have it all. Wealth, fame, a promising career, a husband, and even a child on the way. But her body is controlled by a microchip by her husband, and she's constantly under surveillance. In the tailspin of a loveless marriage, she begins an affair. After a drug-fueled night of celebration results in a deadly hit and run, Nila and her lover Janeth finish off the victim and then bury the body. But secrets don't stay buried, and soon Nila finds herself haunted by the vengeful ghost of her victim, who begins exacting revenge on everyone that Nila loves. To quench the ghost's violent thirst, Nila will have to unravel society's terrible secrets to stop those in power. Before we get into my likes and dislikes, I also want to mention that there are quite a few trigger warnings in this book. Miscarriage, violence, murder, human trafficking, sexual assault, sexual content, and gore, just to name a few. So now on to the things that I like. First of all, I just want to say that this book covers a lot of really deep and interesting themes. The book has discussions of bodily autonomy, rape culture, misogyny and sexism, gender fluidity, surveillance states, human trafficking, power, and corruption. This book is just jam-packed with meaning, and I thought some of the thematic explorations were done really well. And since this is a dystopia, you want to feel that like chilling dread of, oh my gosh, I could see society getting to this point at some point. And I felt like there was some of that element within this story. What I found particularly chilling was the scenario of how women were basically controlled and monitored not only by their husbands, but also by the state. They have like a chip that's inserted into their bodies that their husbands can use to control them and to surveil them. And then they have to go through these annual tests with the surveillance state where they go over all of their actions, anything that's a cause for concern, and they have to justify everything. Their husbands can also do these daily reviews of like everything that they said and did the day before. The level of control exerted on women in this book is just horrifying. This part might be a little bit triggering to some people, but I really appreciated the discussions of grief after miscarriage in this book. Nila, prior to the start of the book, has experienced several miscarriages, and at the start of the book she receives permission to use an artificial womb to try to conceive a child, and she's just full of dread that something is going to go wrong, that somehow she's going to lose this child. And we really see that trauma from her previous experiences coming forward as she prepares to be a mother. Having known quite a few women that have gone through miscarriages and have been really quiet about it because society just doesn't seem to know how to handle a mother's grief around this topic, I really appreciated this book stepping out and not only visiting it just once in like a little paragraph, but it was something that comes up throughout the story. It's a very integral part of the storyline. I also thought that there was some really interesting discussions of gender identity and gender fluidity in this story. Within Womb City, we have technology that allows one person's consciousness to be transferred into a different body. So say that you have two people that have died and one body is mangled, you might then transplant the mangled body's consciousness into the body of the person that is still intact. As the story progresses, we find out that Nila, who is living in a female body, this is her third transplant, was previously in a male body. And so there's some interesting discussions around gender fluidity. Nila doesn't seem particularly bothered in the book to have switched genders in her next reincarnation. She kind of seems to identify as almost gender fluid. And so I appreciated that. I thought it was a kind of a unique look at this particular topic. It wasn't a black and white concrete thing, but it is something that's lightly touched on throughout the story. And I also appreciated the concept for the revenge plot that takes place in the second half of the story. It was based in Botswanan legend, and I really appreciated those cultural elements that kind of got incorporated there. I also really appreciated the journey that our main characters go on to figure out what's going on and to seek revenge. I obviously won't spoil that here, but I thought that there was some very satisfying parts of that. So now we're gonna talk about the things that didn't work so well for me in this book. First of all, I felt like this book was a little bit all over the place, and I feel like that's because the author tried to do so much in just one single book. I felt like this could have almost been broken up into 3 books and it might have been a little bit more successful because it would have given this author a lot more space to set up this world, a lot more space to explore like all of the things that were happening. As it was structured, I felt like it was like bam, 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 and you never really get enough time to feel what the characters are going through. I wish there had been more time to explore the emotional impact that the characters are experiencing. I wish there was more time as a reader for me to feel some of the emotional impact of the things that were happening. But as it is, I felt very disconnected from a lot of what was going on. I wanted to relate to Neela, and I found it hard because there was never any time given. It's always like, okay, this happened, then this happened, then this happened, this happened. It's just a really, really rapid succession. And because of this, my favorite part of the book, which was the revenge plot, felt really rushed and like an afterthought. I thought the things that brought around the conclusion of this book were so interesting. I thought that was like the most emotionally impactful part of the story. And it's where you really start to relate to the characters and feel for them. I mean, you're already kind of trying to feel for them, but like I said, it's all action up to this point. And this is the first point in the story where you have some time to really reflect on what's going on and how severe this surveillance state is and how much control men have over women. And you have this like rage that starts to build, and then the book ends. I just really wish that that part of the story had been given a bit more time to shine and to be explored. I also felt that while this story did attempt to explore a lot of really deep themes, it often missed chances to go much deeper into that topic because everything was in such a rapid fire succession. Had there been a little bit more time to explore some of these topics, I think it would have been a sharper critique. And finally, I felt a little bit detached from the characters within this story. So because everything happened so rapidly, we don't really get to see like, oh, the day after this event, the character behaved in this way. We don't really get to see the effects and repercussions of all of this massive amounts of trauma that they're going through. And so it makes them feel a little bit inhuman in some ways. And for me, it just didn't quite work. I wanted to relate to them a little bit more. I did relate to some of the things that they were going through and some of the anger and frustration that they were feeling, but I just wanted a deeper connection with the characters. With a book with such deep discussions, I just really wanted it to pull me in a little more. That being said, this was a really impressive debut. I really appreciated that the book was set in Botswana. This is a country that I have quite literally never read a book set in before. I read a lot of African literature, and often books are set in Nigeria, Ghana, and South Africa. So it was really nice to see a book that was set in Botswana. I thought that this packed a lot of punch in terms of themes. It was very socially critical, and that critique would be relevant on any continent in the world. Overall, if you like a dystopian, afro-futuristic science fiction with a sprinkling of horror, and really heavy discussion of themes around bodily autonomy and women's rights, then this might be the book for you. Just make sure you check the trigger warnings before you jump into it. I ended up rating this book a 3.5 stars. I do think that this was a good story. It was solid, but there are definitely some things that I would change to improve it. So that's the end of my review. I hope that you found it interesting. If you did, hit the thumbs up and comment down below. Let me know what your favorite dystopian novel is. And if you're not already subscribed to this channel, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button down below, as well as the notification bell so that you never miss a video. And that way we can see each other again soon. Thanks so much for joining. Bye.